Hi there, Paige Youngie here, and I am going to show you how to, how I go about assigning a paper, collecting the paper, attaching a rubric, and then grading that paper. Okay, first thing I do is I assign the paper in Classroom, and so I go to classroom.google.com. Pretty simple, and I wait for it to load once our internet, there we go. And then I choose my class. I currently have 3 classes, and we are going to use my 1B General as an example. All right. So what I do is I click the plus button, I do create an assignment, I type the title in, and I set a due date. And then I can add an assignment sheet from Google, or I can add a video if I want them to watch a video. I can pretty much add anything I want. So let's say I add this assignment. Now, since I only want them to look at this, I don't want them to make any edits. I don't need them to have their own copy. I set this to students can view file. If I were doing a collaborative document such as a spreadsheet for everyone to list a research topic in, I would do students can edit file. If this were a template or a chart they needed to fill in or a test they needed to take, I would click make a copy for each student. And then they each have their own individual copy they can work on. Once I'm done, I click assign, which I won't do right now because it's not a real thing. So wait for a while, pops up, and then it tells me right here how many students have completed it and how many students have not completed it. Once the students are finished with their assignment, they go to their own classroom, and it looks different to them. Right here, there'll be the, right here where it says class comment, there'll be a button that says add or create. If they click add, they can choose from link, Google file, or a video. And if they click, usually they'll click Google file, pulls up their Google Drive, they go in and they find their paper or project, whatever format it is, they click that and it attaches it here. Or they can click a create button that would be over here and it pops up, would you like to create a Google Doc, spreadsheet, form, etc. Pick which one you want, attaches it in this assignment, and they can work. There's also a big blue button over here that says turn in. Once they are done with their assignment and they attach it here, they click turn in for me, and it tells me, as I showed you a moment ago, who's done and who is not done. Once everybody has turned in their assignment, and for this example, I am going to use this essay right here because I haven't actually done all the steps on this yet. So it gives us a list. All of these students are done. You can see their documents are attached. These students have not finished it yet, and it says no attachments. I go to my Google Drive, in which there is a Google-generated folder called Classroom. And within that are each of my classes. Google automatically creates a folder for every assignment that I make in Google Classroom. So I just need to find the folder that matches, in this case, Young Adult Books. Book theme, there we go. Nope, sorry, wrong one. Young Adult Literature. There we go. All right, so now here's everybody's essays. So now I could have a paper rubric that I have in front of me, or I could make 23 copies of an electronic rubric. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a couple different Google add-ons to help me grade. So what I do is once I'm in the assignment folder, I go to Google Sheets. I create a new Google Sheets. I wait for it to load. Your internet's a little slow, I apologize. Come on. I title it. School's over. I just need to title it something for me to know what I'm working with. If I have the same class, multiple sections, I'll put the section up here as well.
Jordan Fitch to the office. Sheridan Boggs to the counseling office. Show choir fundraising items have a...
My apologies for that. Okay. So once I am in here, I click on add-ons. I am using the add-on called Doctopus, okay? And I click launch. This will pull up a tool panel over here. My video picture is going to block some of it, but that's okay. While this loads, I will also tell you that I have previously installed a Chrome extension. Let me pull up Chrome extensions here so I can show it to you. And this extension is called Goobrick. Silly names, but it works. So what Goobrick does right here is it is a rubric-based grading tool, and it works in tandem with the Doctopus add-on for Google Sheets, and it attaches a rubric.
Jordan Fitch and Star Baldy to the office. Sheridan Boggs to the counseling office. Our fundraising items have a...
Again, my apologies, end of school, lots of announcements. This allows an electronic rubric to be attached to each of the electronic essays the students turned in. Okay, so you can see my Doctopus toolbar over here. And since I've already created the Google Classroom assignment, I'm just going to click Ingest a Google assignment. And then I pick my class. And then I pick my assignment. Every assignment that's in that classroom folder I showed you a minute ago is going to be here. And I want this. It's going to read it. I'll pause this while it's... Okay. It took about 2 minutes for it to read the files in the in Google Drive, and I don't know if you can see it behind my picture or not, but under here it says ingest Google Classroom, lists my class, lists the assignment, and then it says found 18 turned in files for this assignment and 2 not yet turned in. I have the option to click only pull in files that are turned in. If you're a stickler and you tell students it won't get a grade until they click that button. These are freshmen. They're not used to using Classroom. So I usually pull in all of them, figuring they just forgot to click turn in. There's a blue button here under my picture that says ingest assignment, and I click it. And then what it does is it goes ahead and it pulls all of those assignments into a new tab on my spreadsheet. And if we watch this here for a minute, I'm going to let it run live so you can see how long it takes. This is the longest process, is the ingesting. I have done this so many times, and I know the procedure so well that I can actually run through this procedure without even thinking. It doesn't take me long at all. Seems like a lot of steps, but honestly, once you do it a few times, the steps are much, much less. So now we can see we have every single paper that was attached in here. It shows me what's been turned in and what it hasn't been. It also gives me a link to the essay itself, but I do electronic grading. So I need to attach a rubric to these papers so I can grade them electronically. And as you can see, there's a button up here that says attach Goobrick. This is the extension I showed you a minute ago. So we're going to click attach Goobrick. Okay. And it's going to pop up. These are rubrics that I have used previously. Or you click My Drive and I go choose a spreadsheet from your drive. Now, the rubric has to be in a spreadsheet format and it must be in a specific style, which I'll show you in a second. So I'm going to use the 1B essay rubric because that's the one I want. So I highlight it, I scroll down, I unselect any of that because I don't need it, and I click attach rubric. Now it's going to attach the rubric. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. This could be a few minutes. Okay. So as you can see now, there is a rubric attached up here, and if I click it, I can show you what this rubric looks like. The requirements are the top row includes your point totals up here, and the first column includes your categories. The remaining squares underneath and to the right are your descriptions, essentially. What the extension cares about is row 1 and column A. It reads those. It knows what's in there. For some reason, you always have to keep column A or box A1 empty, or it cannot read the rubric. So once the rubric has been attached, you see this new link up here called Assess Document. What I do before I assess the documents is I go through and I hide the columns that I don't really need. I really only need the name, the assessed document, the edit so I can see if they turned it in on time, and this. Then what I do is I go ahead and I click the sum button under grade, and I tell it to sum everything on the rubric. These right here correspond to that A column on my rubric spreadsheet. I also copy comment because I use these for emails later, which I'll show you in a minute. This tab over here, the sheet actually collects all of the rubric scores from the electronic rubric, transfers them to these columns, and then I sum them for a grade. It doesn't sum automatically, I think, because some teachers will put in like an A, B, C, or D here. I prefer to use numbers. So let's go ahead and look at one student. So I go ahead and click this. Wait for it to load. It does take a minute. Now here's my rubric up here, and each column or each row has a tab that we can flip through so I can read everything. And here's my paper. Come on. Now over here, I can put general comments and go away. And I can also expand the rubric section. You can automatically email scores or not. I always keep the auto advance on submit up so that it automatically goes to the next paper for me. And me personally, I always change this to suggesting. So I go through and say delete that, comment, do this, that, the other thing, blah, blah, blah. This should be bigger. This should be green. Stuff like that. Once I am done, let me delete these from poor Jonathan's paper before he's confused.
Please come to the office. Kaylee Miller, please come to the office.
Once I'm done, I start here and I go, okay, intro was a 10, thesis was a 10. I'm hitting tab, by the way, to move through the tabs up here. Body paragraphs, I'm just going to give this kid all 10s. I'll go back and delete them. 10. As you can see, I'm lagging a little because my internet and computer just got wonky. All right, and then I say some comments here. And then I click submit. It will now store those scores for me, and it will automatically pull up the next student's paper with that rubric attached. All right. Over on the spreadsheet, as you can see, this is where the extension saves all the scores, transfers them over here so we can see all of this. And then I have it pull in my grand total over here. When I'm all done, what I'll do is I will open the assignment panel again. Wait a minute for it to load. I will click send feedback email. Now, the kind of cool thing here is all of the column headings are tags, basically. So when I do the email, I put in whatever tag I want. And the reason I copy and sum into grade and written feedback is I'll just do tag grade out of 100, and then underneath I will do tag written feedback, and then I'll click send emails. And so it'll find those columns right here, and whatever is there, it'll automatically populate into each student's email, and it will send them their scores. Once that's done, I then go ahead and there'll be a whole list of scores right here. I will do two things. I will go back to Classroom. I will find the original assignment. I think I do a step here that I probably don't really need to, but for me, it just helps. I'll pull up the list of students and I'll do a split screen. Oops, I don't want a little split screen. I want a big split screen. Come on. Okay. Okay, and what I'll do is I will then over here plug in whatever score is over on the Doctopus spreadsheet. When I do that, that highlights this and you'll see this return button just lit up, and then I click return. One thing I like about Google Classroom is when a student turns a document in, it freezes it. It transfers ownership to me and it gives them view only rights. So that means that students, once they've turned it in, they can't turn it in on time and then go back and change it. So they can't fool the system really. So by returning it, I return ownership back to them. So if they need to make any changes, they can do that and resubmit it. Once I have all the scores in there, I then pull up PowerSchool, which is our district-wide LMS, I guess, but it's not really an LMS because you can't put assignments and things like that. And I'll transfer all the number scores in there for them so that the students can see how it affects their grades. And then once I'm done, I'm done. So breaking this down into different steps, it actually seems like quite a few steps to go through. Like I said, I've got this down. I've been doing this one for 3 years now. I integrated Google Classroom last year. And so I've got it to the point where I can get a Doctopus spreadsheet up and running in under 5 minutes. And the grading doesn't take me any longer than it does my colleagues who do it on paper. The things I like about this system are it freezes the ownership, or it freezes the paper, so I'm the owner, so students can't change it after the fact. It gives me a nice little spreadsheet. I can use an electronic rubric of my own creation, so I don't have to have anything on paper. And it automatically will send feedback to the students so that I don't have to do that individually. The part I don't like about this system is Google Classroom is not a true LMS. It's merely a file management system. So I can't save any files in there. You know, if I want to give them a cheat sheet, I have to do an announcement. And Google Classroom is set up in a feed setting, like a social media feed. And so it just gets really cluttered. I can't organize into modules or folders or anything like that. And as you can see, I need 2 additional extensions and add-ons in order to get the stuff from Classroom into an electronic grading environment. So I hope that kind of shows you all of my steps. If you have additional questions and want me to clarify anything or slow down over anything, just shoot me an email and I'll do that for you. All right. Thank you very much.